Chapter 9. Alan had finally convinced Lex and Tim to come out of the drain pipe, and now, slowly but surely, they were making their way through Jurassic Park. A full moon lit the jungle, so they were able to see. The strange light made everything look spooky, but they didn't have a choice. They had to keep going. They had to get to the visitor center. So Alan, Lex, and Tim hiked and climbed through the night, always on the lookout for dinosaurs. There was no power anywhere in the park. That meant the dinosaurs were still on the loose. The T-Rex could be anywhere. Alan checked a map he'd taken from the visitor center. Was that only this morning? It seemed like they'd been walking for 1,000,000 years. Looks like we're heading west, he said. That's good, I think. We should definitely hit the visitor center this way. Lex took his hand. They walked side by side for a moment. Then Alan turned to Tim. You want to hold my other hand? He asked. Tim just shook his head. He was determined to make it on his own. He'll never hold anybody's hand, said Lex. Timmy is a dinosaur, a Jerkosaurus. Straight A brainiac, Tim shot back. Dorkatops! Roar! The sound silenced everyone. You both look pretty tired. I think we should find some place to rest, Alan said. Roar! Now. Once again, Alan climbed a tree. But this time, Tim and Lex were right behind him. When they reached the top, they were awestruck by the view. The park stretched for miles around. The trees, the meadows, the herds of dinosaurs. It was all a beautiful sight. Lex thought it was romantic, too. Are you and Dr. Sattler married? Lex asked, settling in the branches. Well, those are Brachiosauruses, Tim said, trying to change the subject. He pointed out the dozens of plant-eating dinosaurs. Their long, graceful necks towered above the trees. Yes, they are Brachiosaurus, Alan told him. It's a great name. It means armed lizard. Lex leaned forward. Don't listen to him, she said to Alan. Timmy always talks about dinosaurs when he thinks something is mushy. That's okay, said Alan. So do I. Tim thought they should go back to talking about dinosaurs. He had a question. How could dinosaurs turn into birds? Birds don't have teeth, and some dinosaurs do. Simple evolution, explained Alan. As birds evolved, they lost their teeth. They began to use gizzard stones instead, like the Triceratops. Yeah, but Tim was excited. He thought he could outsmart Alan. But shouldn't there be a missing link? After the dinosaurs disappeared, shouldn't there have been birds with teeth? There were, Alan answered. Toothed seabirds. They were found in Kansas in the 1800s. Tim thought about that for a second. Satisfied, he stopped his questioning, and the three fell silent. They could hear the animals calling each other. Some calls sounded just like music. Alan smiled at the pretty sounds, but after a moment his smile faded. Were those mating calls, he wondered? And how could that be? All the dinosaurs were supposed to be female. His thoughts were interrupted by Lex. What if the dinosaurs come while we're sleeping? I'll stay awake, Alan promised. Lex came closer and crawled under his arm. Tim hesitated for a minute, then curled under Alan's other arm. Tim and Lex leaned back against the tree trunk. Minutes later, they were fast asleep. Alan looked down at the sleeping kids. Who would have thought that he'd be sitting here with 2 children under his arms? He sighed to himself. Maybe kids weren't so terrible after all. He just hoped he wouldn't let them down. The next morning, Alan and the kids woke with a start. A Brachiosaurus was munching on leaves, right by their heads. Lex opened her mouth to scream, but nothing came out. It's okay, said Tim. It's a Brachiosaurus, Lex. It's a Vegisaurus. He climbed up to a higher branch so he could pat the dinosaur's head. Alan, meanwhile, was inspecting its mouth. The dinosaur didn't seem to mind. It just continued munching. Feeling a little braver, Lex edged closer. She was just in front of the dinosaur's head. She reached out, gently patting its nose. Achoo! The dinosaur sneezed, but it was more like an explosion. Ew, said Lex in disgust. She was dripping wet from head to toe. Lex dropped to the ground and stomped away. Oh, great, Tim said to Alan as they climbed down too. Now she'll never try anything new. She'll just sit in her room with her computer for the rest of her life. Alan jumped the last few feet. Then he saw something that made him stop in his tracks. Oh my, he said in surprise. He crouched down and picked it up. Tim landed next to him, and Lex came over too. What is it? Asked Tim. Alan was holding a thin piece of white shell. It's a dinosaur egg, Alan said. Part of him couldn't believe it, but another part wasn't surprised at all. The dinosaurs are breeding. Right in front of him was a whole group of eggs that were already hatched. But my grandpa said all the dinosaurs are girls, exclaimed Tim. He also said scientists changed the dinosaur's genetic code. They blended it with frog DNA, Alan explained, and some West African frogs can change sex when there aren't only males or females around. That way they're able to breed. Alan shook his head. Ian was right. Life found the way.